I'd been looking forward to two blockbuster entertainment events all year. The first was Game of Thrones, and the second was the start of Democratic primary debate season. Game of Thrones was a mild letdown, but all the twists and turns and drama and intrigue I'd hoped to find in that show look like they're being supplanted by the race to challenge Donald Trump in 2020. And I've been waiting to see the strategy that'll win the day. To me, it doesn't seem all that difficult. Just run the ball straight up the middle. Appeal to center America as a stable alternative to a president who is seen as volatile, and you have a pretty good chance of unseating the guy. But the problem is, this isn't a party run by centrist pragmatists. It's a party run by rabid progressive ideologues. So even if running up the middle is wide open, they'll still take the far left flank regardless, and they'll keep veering left until they're off the road or off the map entirely. And then once they're in the ditch, they'll keep cranking left until the wheels break off the axles entirely. And that strategy was on full display both Wednesday and Thursday nights. I fully expected a little crazy. I didn't expect politically suicidal. I didn't expect pandering in the form of Peggy Hill roleplay.
Necesitamos incluir cada persona en nuestra democracia.
This f***ing guy. Nobody outpanders me.
Este presidente ha atacado, ha demonizado los inmigrantes. Es inaceptable.
Su pudor. Yo poder ver que usted ser caballo razonable.
I didn't expect a call for taxpayer-funded abortions for men.
I don't believe only in reproductive freedom. I believe in reproductive justice. Just because a woman, or let's also not forget, someone in the trans community, a trans female, is poor, doesn't mean they shouldn't have the right to exercise that right to choose.
I didn't expect a universal, unchallenged endorsement of government-provided health care for illegal immigrants.
Raise your hand if your government plan would provide coverage for undocumented immigrants.
Abortions for illegals are a human right. Also, your wallet is a human right, so gives me that. This is a party with a paradoxical and terminal illness. All they have to do is be 1% more appealing to the average American than Trump, but their irrational hatred of him pushes them so far outside the American mainstream that they drastically reduce their chances of beating him. In other words, their impassioned hatred of Trump may ironically become the single reason they can't defeat him. You know this will be a future attack ad. This is a party in unanimity wanting to force you to pay for healthcare for illegals. If you'd prefer not, vote Trump.
I'm Donald Trump, and I approve this message.
And it'd be an easy choice for me. I'm not a Trump superfan, but I am a superfan of not that. They just can't help themselves. And one of the ways this pathology manifests itself is in trying to tear down the party's frontrunner, the guy with one of the best chances at appealing to middle America, as some sort of good old boy racist. If not racist himself, then chummy and warm with segregationists of decades past. This has been the dishonest smear against Joe Biden for a week or so now, opportunistically weaponized by Kamala Harris in what will be the single most played moment of this round of debates. It all started when discount Sally Field reminded everyone that it's not enough just to support free everything. You gotta support free everything plus cash for people with the right skin color.
The underlying cause has to do with deep realms of racial injustice, both in our criminal justice system and in our economic system. And the Democratic Party should be on the side of reparations for slavery for this very reason. I do not believe that the average American is a racist, but the average American is woefully undereducated about the history of race in the United States.
And then, as if to illustrate the silliness of this proposal in real time, the debate moderators allowed the Indian and Jamaican lady with zero American slave ancestry, and actually, if you believe her dad, she's the descendant of slave owners, in fact. They allowed that lady to hijack the debate on racial terms because her skin looks the right color. Specifics be damned. She has the special skin tone, so she gets the special treatment.
We're going to get to you. Hang on. We're going to get to
stage. I would like to speak on the issue of race.
We will give you 30 seconds of this. We're going to come back to you on this again in just a moment. Go for 30 seconds.
Okay.
And what followed was not 30 seconds, of course, but over 90 seconds of ripping segregationist-friendly Joe Biden uninterrupted, plus more than 3 minutes of back and forth between the candidates. I guess this was reparation timekeeping.
In this campaign, we've also heard, and I'm going to now direct this at Vice President Biden, I do not believe you are a racist. And I agree with you when you commit yourself to the importance of finding common ground. But I also believe, and it's personal, and I was actually it was hurtful to hear you talk about the reputations of two United States senators who built their reputations and career on the segregation of race in this country.
Oh, the hurt. I'm sure Kamala Harris was clutching back and forth between her heart and her pearls when she saw the story. We all know she was grinning cynically when she saw the news, actually, eager to weaponize the story against the frontrunner on an issue in which she has the special characteristic and he doesn't. We know that because to get to her conclusions, you have to read the story with that dishonest intent in the first place. Joe Biden didn't praise segregationists. He said he knows how to get things done, even with people whose opinions he strongly opposes, like segregationists. That if you believe in our constitutional system of checking and decentralizing power, competing interests need to work together for the system to function. And that statement is eminently true and defensible. If you want a system in which each institution and individual in government has minimized control, those individuals will have to work together toward consensus, and that means putting differences, even the strongest of differences, aside. The point is not Joe Biden's admiration of segregationists or endorsement of their views. The point is his disapproval of their views. The point is putting the interest of the country ahead of ideological purity and personal disagreement. But Kamala Harris, of course, has a counter. She doubled down on the idea of old racist Joe, or at least tacitly racist Joe, because back in the 70s, Joe Biden wasn't fully supportive of federally mandated busing of students to achieve artificial racial integration in schools.
It was not only that, but you also worked with them to oppose busing. There was a little girl in California who was part of the second class to integrate her public schools, and she was bused to school every day. And that little girl was me.
Even this story, I'll speculate, is highly exaggerated. Kamala Harris is the daughter of 2 PhDs. Her mom was a Berkeley professor. She may have ridden the integration bus, but she was never part of some poor family under the thumb of Jim Crow oppression. And likewise, the claims about Joe Biden's opposition to busing are also mischaracterized. Back in the 70s, Joe Biden supported court authority to strike down deliberate segregation efforts in public schools, but he opposed federally mandated busing of kids to faraway schools to achieve some integration quota. Specifically, Biden supported a 1976 bill prohibiting the use of federal funds for busing kids to schools beyond the ones closest to their homes. Biden responded, explaining his position, emphasizing the importance of local control of schools.
The busing, you would have been able to go to school the same exact way because it was a local decision made by your city council. That's fine. That's one of the things I argued for, that we should be breaking down these lines.
And Harris ripped him further, not just for palling around with segregationists, but for failing to seize control from them.
Vice President Biden, do you agree today that you were wrong to oppose busing in America then?
No,
do you agree?
I did not oppose busing in America. What I opposed is busing ordered by the Department of Education. That's what I opposed.
Well, there was a failure of states to integrate public schools in America. I was part of the second class to integrate Berkeley, California public schools.
Because your city council made that decision. It was a local decision.
So that's where the federal government must step in. That's why we have the Voting Rights Act and the Civil Rights Act. That's why we need to pass the Equality Act. That's why we need to pass the ERA, because there are moments in history where states fail to preserve the civil rights of all people.
First of all, the Constitution prohibits public school segregation, but that doesn't mean it prescribes federally mandated artificial busing schemes as the solution. And this is where we get to the truly sinister core of Kamala Harris's political philosophy. These two don't actually disagree on the end goal. If you ask them, I'm sure they both will tell you that they want healthy public schools that don't cater to any one particular race. They both want to live in a country in which there are little to no student achievement gaps along racial lines. They may have some disagreement, or at least historic disagreement, on how to achieve that common goal. They agree on the ends with some disagreement on the means, but to Kamala Harris, the means deserve no consideration. In fact, Joe Biden is to be ripped for even considering them. So sure, you want racially integrated schools. But at what cost? Are you willing to seize all power from localities to handle their schools for themselves? Are you willing to smear anyone who disagrees with your methods as implicitly racist, simply because they have some points of caution about cramming your way down everyone's throats? The truth is, Joe Biden's original comments causing this entire controversy are wise. They are neither naive nor outdated, and there are real costs to ignoring their lesson. If you want a country that functions on peaceful and civil terms, you must learn to lay down your sword and seek common interest, not divisive difference. Centralizing power and condemning civil disagreement isn't just a disrespectful or discourteous way to govern. It's actually a perfect recipe for conflict and tyranny. There is a reason that the Constitution delegates specific enumerated rights to the citizenry and specific enumerated powers to the federal government and leaves the rest to the discretion of the states. It is precisely so that this sort of impulse, this sort of self-righteous power grab is mitigated. It is precisely so that we are all governed by consent, not brute force. And by extension, it is precisely so that peace between competing perspectives is the likely outcome, not conflict. As much as I enjoyed the clown show and will continue laughing at the clown car's next tour stop, the implications of this exchange could not be more serious. Are we still a country that believes the means matter, that believes the process matters in how we pursue our ends? That is the historical artifact that Joe Biden may be the last in his party to defend. Or are we now a country that believes the ends justify the means, that we don't care whose rights we tread on to achieve the utopia that, funny, we just so happen to be the divinely chosen ones to implement? I'll be watching this question get resolved attentively, but I just hope I can understand when it does. My Spanish is pretty rusty, so I may need some subtitles. Thanks as always for listening and for supporting this channel. Always appreciate that thoughtful discussion down below, and especially over on Twitter. That is at ML Christiansen. You're always welcome to coming out and chat in my live streams. Those are linked down in the description. Looking forward to it. Goodbye.